Okay, so lots of you guys seem to be very concerned whether Lost Ark is a pay-to-win game or not, and I see many people saying things like, oh, you can buy things in this game, I'm not gonna play it then. And I feel like this is a topic that needs to be addressed sooner rather than later. That being said, it's complicated to discuss this because we still don't have any concrete information on how our cash shop will look like. We've heard things like they might adjust things related to the cash shop to better fit the Western audience, and things like the Western version of Lost Ark will be a fair, fun and a great gaming experience where in-game purchases are completely optional. Let me make one thing clear before we deep dive into the whole pay-to-win thing. I am not here to force my opinion on any of you. You are more than welcome to have your own opinion, but if at all possible, I'd like to give you guys a better look at things you can spend your money in Lost Ark currently and to what extent it could be considered pay-to-win. In order to come to a conclusion about the game being pay-to-win, we first need to identify what is considered winning in Lost Ark. And after that, we can take a look at whether or not you can pay real money in order to achieve such things. In Lost Ark, there's two types of content that we should look at: equalized and unequalized content. Equalized content is, for example, regular PvP, most PvP islands, and challenge raids. Unequalized content is basically everything else, for example, all the regular raids, chaos dungeons, world bosses, event islands, and some GVG events. So I think we can all agree that most of the game is unequalized, but there is some content, for example, regular PvP, that you can't even attempt to pay to win. So as long as you can buy gold, you will be able to pay to win in most parts of the game, right? Well, it's not that simple, sadly. Yes, in other regions you can currently buy gold, and with that you have access to basically infinite upgrade materials, engraving books, jewels, and so on. However, these are things that you can access as a free-to-play player as well from a bunch of sources. For example, chaos dungeons, PvP, sea merchants, guild currency shop, event islands, raids, cube dungeons, boss rush, and probably even more. You also can get gold from multiple of these sources that you can then spend as you see fit. Now then, with this in mind, that as a free-to-play player you have access to so many resource sources, paying for them instead is basically just cutting the time that you spend playing the game and skipping the fun part of actually having to grind for your gear. So what's winning in Lost Ark? In my opinion, winning is being able to successfully clear raids and all the content in the game, being able to participate in events and raids, and receiving rewards for the activities you do. Can you do every single one of these regardless you pay for anything in the game or not? Absolutely yes. Let's look at it this way. There's a certain level of progression that any free-to-play player can reach, even if they only play casually. At that level, you can clear any content in the game currently available. Beyond this point, only those will be able to go who regularly grind the game day to day, and they also have a very good idea of what they are doing, or those who spend tons of money on the game. And yes, I said tons because upgrading beyond this point does not come cheap. What is the difference between the free-to-play players and the pay-to-win players here? The difference is, if you are a pay-to-win whale, you have a huge e-pin and can clear content a couple minutes faster than the free-to-play players. But whether you are a free-to-play or a pay-to-win player, you will be doing the same content. Not to mention that in Lost Ark there's so many things you can't pay for that count towards your strength. For example, you should be getting all the permanent stat increase potions and skill point potions that are locked behind quests, affinity, adventure book completion, collectibles, and other content in the game that you have to do manually and can't skip by paying for it. And if you're worried that as a free-to-play player you won't make it into endgame raid groups, you have nothing to worry about, because pay-to-win whales will be playing with other whales anyways, and as a free-to-play player you will have a lot of other free-to-play players who will want to queue up with you. Now let's take a look at GVG, because that is something that some people say is hard pay-to-win. I myself don't have much to say from experience as I haven't played GVG, but Saintone gave a good answer to those of you who are concerned about GVG.
Enter the flag or defend the node. Gear's not equalized, so it's just for the whales. Well, not wrong. The S-rank islands are not equalized, so it is true that only top guilds with top players, and that often means top gear also, it's only for them, for competing for the S-rank rewards. However, they don't just reward the top guild for each of these territories, they also reward several places underneath them, and the difference between the rank 1 reward and the subsequent ranking rewards is not a lot. So even like so-so guilds that have free-to-play gear can still get GVG rewards. And you should do them because it gets you a lot of gold. By the way, You know, there's been a lot of talk lately about like GVG and how it's unequalized and how you probably won't participate in it if you're not like a pay-to-win whale or a hardcore player. So in the game, there's multiple islands that you can contest in GVG. And not all of them involve PvP combat. Some involve minigames, like the snowball fight, and some involve other kind of minigames, like Naruni Racing, where you transform into a little dinosaur and race around a track. So there's also things you can do even if you can't compete in gear for GVG. And even if you can sort of compete in gear, you should still consider it because the top 5 guilds of each island occupation get rewards. And there's a lot of islands, so we're looking at like 30 plus guilds that can get gold rewards each week from it.
So yeah, even in GVG, all you get if you spend tons of money on the game is a better chance for a bigger EP and a bit of extra gold, which is minuscule. There's a lot of content in Lost Ark that only require you to attend and take place in the activity to receive the majority of the rewards you can get, which makes it so you don't need to be the one to deal the most damage, for example, to receive a good amount of rewards. Now we should take a look at the founder specs and the Crystalline aura, as they are something a lot of you guys consider a heavy pay-to-win start for the game. Crystalline aura gives you a lot of things, most of which is very secondary, for example the stronghold research, dispatch and craft time reductions by 10%. It's something nice that can help you speed up your research a bit, but these activities take anywhere from 1 hour up to 24 hours, so that 10% reduction is not going to do a lot for you. Maybe in the long run you get a couple upgrades faster than those who don't have this benefit. You also get cheaper liner and triport prices, which are used regularly as you travel in the game a lot. These cost certain amounts of silver, ranging from like 10 to a few thousands of silver. This is also something nice that in the long run will save you a lot of silver probably, but at higher item levels you make literally millions of silver in just a couple of days with a single character. Not to mention, if you play alts, you can earn millions of silver in a single day. These things aside, we have 3 major benefits left that are, in my opinion, worth paying for and might be considered pay to win, but that is purely based on perspective. These 3 things are +2 Bifrost slots, an extra stronghold training dummy, and +1 daily affinity interaction. Bifrost is something that you can use to fast travel to mostly anywhere in the game after you reach a certain point. 1 slot is immediately available for use, and you can unlock 2 more by playing the game a lot. The Crystalline aura gives you 2 more slots on top of these 3 that let you save 2 more locations in your Bifrost, so you can fast travel to more of your daily activities. But you can also just sail or take the line and triports to your desired destination. This alone would be a good enough reason for me to pay for the Crystalline aura, because you can save precious minutes from traveling. The training dummy lets you train up your other characters passively to the level of your highest character, -1. You can build one of your own, but the Crystalline aura gives you access to an extra one, so you can train not 1 but 2 alts passively at the same time. And lastly, you get +1 daily affinity interaction, of which you have 5 without the Crystalline aura. This is also something that will only have real effects in the long run, so you can get the affinity rewards a tiny bit faster, but you will eventually run out of the better rewards, so there really is no need for this. It's just something nice if you like min-maxing everything. So is the Crystalline aura pay to win? If you have played the game for more than 10 to 20 hours already, your answer is probably no. If you think otherwise, that is completely fine. This topic is not something that all of us will ever agree on, and there's nothing wrong with that. We all have different views on things, and if someone is to change their opinion, it shouldn't be because it's forced upon them, but because they've been faced with facts that made them change their mind. Now we can look at the founders packages. Every tier gives you fatal access and a 3-day head start on the official launch. This head start seems to be the thing that most people are concerned about, so let's touch on that first. 3 days of playing this game means almost nothing. If it's your first time, you might not even level up to 50 in 3 days, and even if you are a veteran player, 3 days is really not a whole lot, so you can't do anything that gives you an insane lead over the other players who started on the official release time. Even if you manage to get a big lead, that will fall in the matter of a couple of weeks, if not even faster. If someone is doing much better than you, it would be because of their experience in the game and not because of the 3-day head start. This game is nothing like PoE, the market is nothing like PoE's, so you really shouldn't be comparing it to anything that has, for example, seasons. Lost Ark also has its seasons, but it's entirely different from, for example, PoE. Lost Ark Season 1 was the game's first release state. Season 2 is the game's current state, after a huge revamp in gear progression and in the content you can do and much more. So a season in this game is basically just a big patch with loads of changes to the game, but there's no such thing as like a full reset or anything like that. Let's keep going with the Founders packs. You also get Royal Crystals that can be spent in the cash shop. In Korea, Russia and Japan, you can spend these crystals on things called avatars, mounts, pets, pet licenses that basically let you use your pet to repair your gear, access your storage and its storage anywhere, and gain certain stat boosts, which is something I hope they are removing in the future or for our version of the game. You can also buy packages that contain battle items or upgrade materials. This is the part you could consider pay to win, and as I already told you, it has way less of an impact than you might think. You also get a pet from all the packages, which is basically purely cosmetic, other than it picking up loot for you, since you get a free pet that does the same thing once you reach level 50. You also get the 30-day Crystalline aura, of course, which we've already discussed, and you also get a title that you can put next to your name for spec. You also get a supply crate filled with silver, combat items and potions, of which the game regularly gives you a bunch of as event and login rewards. The amount of silver you get from these chests is not a lot. You will be spending much more than that once you reach the end game. From the gold pack, you also get a avatar for your character, which gives a couple percentages of stat boost, but you can also buy avatars from the warehouse, buy gold you farm in-game. You also get a character expansion slot, which lets you create a 7th character, but with the direction the game seems to be heading, you really shouldn't need to create that many characters to farm enough gold and mats to progress through the game. It's still nice to have more slots so you can play more classes and hardcore players can keep farming on more characters. In the Platinum Founders pack, you also get an extra avatar, a mount and a Platinum welcome crate with a founder exclusive wallpaper and a structure for your stronghold. These two things serve only cosmetic purposes, and you also get a legendary affinity related gift selection box, which you also get a lot of during events and as a login reward. You also get a launch limited card pack, of which we have no information what sort it will be. The most pay-to-win version would be a legendary selection box. And that basically concludes the Founders packs. Most of it is either cosmetic or things that you can also buy in-game, and also a head start that's not even remotely as relevant as you might think at first. Is it pay-to-win? I'm still going to say that it's based on perspective, and in my opinion it's just a tiny bit pay to win, but it mostly is for huge fans of the game who want to support it so it can keep growing better and better every single day, as it is doing at this very moment. Also, Korea just received a battle pass as well, so I figured I might mention that. The battle pass gives you a lot of free upgrade materials and even a mount, and if you were to pay for its 2 higher tiers, you could get more materials and some avatars, a pet and a wallpaper for your character selection screen. Is that pay to win? I leave that for you to decide, but I think it's a really nice thing because it has a free part that gives you nice rewards and it motivates you to do your daily and weekly activities. I've played some MMOs in the past and experienced pay to win where you can literally buy a weapon at the cash shop at level 30 and beat up people who are like beyond level 100 players, and Lost Ark is nothing like that. Even with the pay to win elements currently implemented on the eastern servers, these purchases are completely optional and you can achieve 99% of things in this game as a free-to-play player. Lost Ark is genuinely one of the best games I've ever played, and I really hope that you are going to still give it a shot even if you think it's pay to win, because there's just so much to love about this game. Thank you very much for your attention, and I really hope I was able to shed some light on the pay to win situation, but the only thing we can do is wait for the game to release and experience it for ourselves, and only then draw any conclusions. Until that point, I will keep publishing videos about Lost Ark, so if you're interested, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much for watching, stay safe, and I'll see you next time.